Yep. We're live. Okay, so we are live on Facebook. If y'all want to share it, y'all can. I always have a hard time doing it, so
okay.
Yeah, y'all got me chewing the cud on live feed here.
You said chewing the cud and what is the spit the fat out? No, it's chewing the cud and what's that? How it go?
Chew the cud and part the hoof.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I said chew the cud and spit the fat out.
We're clean. We're clean animals because we chew the cud and we part our hooves.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna mute y'all and then we get ready to get started because I was background on my end. Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of Love Language, the Roundtable. Pray everybody's having a good week or has had a good week as we end the week. And that you're enjoying the changing of seasons, however you interpret that. I'm in a place where it's gonna be really cold soon, so you'll probably see me with a full-on like snowsuit in a couple of weeks because it's gonna probably be snowing up here. But anyway, wherever you are, peace and blessings. Today's topic. Always the conversation is always open to everybody. If you're on Facebook Live and you want to put your comments on, you're free to do so. We'll try to read them as we go along. If you want to join as a panelist and have your face shown, you can do that. Let us know. I think the link when you click on it, you can do it. I don't know. Maybe not. You can if you click the link. I don't know. Well, or whatever. If you need help getting on, let us know. We're happy to have your voice added to the conversation. If you don't want to have your face shown, that's cool. You can just have your name. But we do want to have this to be as much of an open conversation because we're all still learning from each other. And that's what the platform is for. It's a collaborative effort to restore the Black household. So today's topic is ready or not, knowing when to settle down. And I know we've gone up and around and down the corner talking about relationships both before and after you get into one. So we're going to continue to look at all the different angles and points at which you might enter into an agreement to discuss and make sure that we know what we're doing. Are we trying to figure out how to make those various entry points profitable before they spiral out of control, which is always the next iteration of relationship. Y'all cool and then y'all not. So okay, so I'm gonna read the little synopsis and then we'll jump into it. It says, in a world of infinite options, making a decision to settle down and commit to one person is elusive at best. What does settling down even mean? How do you know you're ready to settle down? Is this a decision that you come to on your own? What part does peer pressure play in making such a decision? And what role does the concept of a shortage of good men and women play in furthering these notions? So those are always opening questions. We don't got to do those questions. I don't think I ever said that. We don't got to do those questions, but that's just to keep the conversation going. And we always going to freestyle this joint at one point. So I'm going to mute myself. If anybody wanted to say some opening comments, you're welcome to do so. Not everybody jump in at once? No? Okay, well, all righty.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and jump in. Thanks again for having me on. And, I think this is a very good discussion that we should have about, relationships and things like that. I'm just excited about being here again. So that's all I got to say for now.
Oh. Is it okay?
Go ahead, Chief.
Oh no, I'm still trying to get my little notes and everything together, but nonetheless, I think this is going to be a real good topic because I think there's definitely some I guess some misconceptions about even the term settling down. Like, what does it actually mean? Like, where does it come from? When we say it's time to settle down, is that synonymous with marrying someone that you want to marry, or is it literally settling down? these are things that I mean, some of my elders used to say that they're like, yeah, that term is kind of wishy-washy. So I've been kind of like, for the past couple of days, been kind of, snooping around dictionaries of etymology, kind of looking at certain concepts, and trying to find where they, where they derive from, at least in this country, because, whatever happens prior to the American experience is sometimes of no consequence, but how it's been applied in the context of American marriage, which is obviously the template in which we're operating out of most of the time. But I think these things are important, just like everything that we've spoken about pertaining to courting, everything pertaining to, whether it's courting, whether it's the marriage process, divorce, all of these things, settling down, and we'll just use it in the common term that we know it to be, of finally getting to the point where you're like, you know what, I'm prepared for marriage. I'm prepared for some type of long-term or lifelong relationship or whatever. And so I just figured I'd just put that out there. Still gathering some of my notes here, but that's pretty much what I'm gonna settle with at this point. You like how I did that, right?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you look at the study of the words itself, or the phrase, I should say. That's dope. Um, it's interesting. Coming from a standpoint of looking at older family members, and like you said, Zeb, hearing some of the elders in family say these, when are you going to? So, the matter of fact, I just got a phone call from, well, not just, maybe a month or so ago, got a phone call from my aunt, and she's like, I'm ready for you to have children. And this is a sentiment that she's been kind of expressing for the better half of maybe 4 or 5 years, between me and my brother. And I know it has to stem with some other things as far as, life expectancy and all of that. And her kind of wanting to have these cherished moments before she feels as though, her her time is finished here, which is understandable because, you know, that side of my family, things aren't, the those times are kind of ticking away. Um, as you guys know, my father, which was her brother, passed away at a young age. Her older brother passed away at a young age. So, you know, but so when you look at peer pressure and or family pressure, um, those aspects of settling down meaning to kind of put aside the things that you used to do in your younger years, because that's the way I look at it, or that's the way it's always been explained. You have your a certain time period in life where you get to act stupid, so to speak, and kind of learn from your experiences, and then after that is okay. Now go have a family and be correct. you know. And I guess it happens at different ages for people. So I'm just curious to see what everybody's viewpoint is, and what do they feel is the right time? Is there such thing as the right time, and is that something that changes depending on the person, or is it something that is kind of looked at based off of society? So with that, I guess I'll yield.
Yeah, those are all interesting thoughts. I think that the settling thing that's what Zebulon said. I think I definitely want to. We might end up talking about that anyway. I think that's interesting too, because yeah, I wonder about that. I ain't never thought about that before. I think that's interesting though. So we can just go ahead and jump into the first. Oh, and I guess I don't have no opening thoughts about it. I'm like Isaiah said. I'm just trying to. I'm curious about the whole conversation in general, and I do think, of course, all of these things, social, internal, it's a standard. It sounds like it's a standards conversation. Like there's a bar at which stop being on your uh, selfishness and you decide to settle down. But then even in that, like it don't even really sit right because you bored with yourself. Now you want to come mess up somebody else's life. I mean, it could be like you could look at it like that. You could look at it like, well, now I'm done playing around with everybody, and now so and that would be ignoring not to go too philosophical, but that would be to ignore everything that you've done up until that point. Like that stuff won't come back and get you. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's a weird conversation. But the first question is, what does settling down even mean? So if anybody wanted to jump in, and we could go in the same order that we went in last time. That means shine you up. What does settling down even even mean to you? Oh, also my brother. I'm gonna put your business on the spot. My brother, bless his heart, he's been married for I don't know how many. He told me I think 18 years, but shout out to him and his beautiful wife and their beautiful kids for being young and sticking through it, the ups and downs in this world. So I think his perspective is more appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Ain't nothing but the grace of God that allowed that to happen. What I want to say is, I think growing up, you think you a little player or whatever. You think the man, whatever you want to call it, whatever. But I just think about like me and my wife, how we met and everything, and how we, but the things we've been through, as being a married couple, what I'm saying, it has strengthened us, and allow us to, to continue growing because we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot of things that, for most people, it probably would have broke them up, break the family up, all those good things and stuff. But, like I said, by the grace of God, we still together and everything. And like I said, I was one of those ones that was coming up like, I would never get married. I would never be to one person, just how society dictate things and things, and, my dad, losing his dad at a young age, he really had no one to really teach him how to be a man and do all these things. So a lot of things he would learn by trial and error. And then, me growing up and like I said, being his only boy and only son, a lot of things I would do, and he would support it, and it was like because he was living through me, because he didn't get a chance to do his opportunities. But a lot of it was really, like I said, a learning experience. Like I say, I never thought I would be the one to get married, things like that. But like I said, God always have another plan for you. Like even me and my wife met her in junior college, and we was just friends. Met her, and I went my separate way, went away to school, came back home, ran into her again, and it was just like crazy because they let me know that the Lord already had your hands already. He already had your life already mapped out how things going to happen. Like he could have told me when I first saw on the escalators that she was going to be my wife. So it's just amazing. And like I said, the things we've been through, it just made us strong. She been with me. I was a kidney dialysis patient. I am now, but I got a kidney before. She was there with me through that. My dad passed away. She was there with me through that. It's just a number of things that she was there for. And like I said, most people, when it goes bad, people don't want to stick around, And like I said, I always forever grateful for her for being there for me. And like I said, build a strong foundation. And she's a God-fearing woman. She, everything that she does, what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't know how I can function without her, because like I said, everything that she got done for me and being with me, it has made me stronger as well. It's times that, in my situation, even having to go through kidney dialysis, that for her to be, give me that strength to be like, you can do it. Don't feel sorry for yourself. All those things is key in a marriage. And like I said, if somebody can go through thick and thin, why not, continue building up that foundation? Like they said, the grass is not always green on the other side, but like, I think it's very important too, especially in the Black community. You'll never see a lot of families together, mother and father in the same household, the kids, and all those type of things. You don't see that as often. And when we do see these things, we have to be the example, the ones who are doing it, to be examples, not for our kids, but as far as these youths coming up, because they're gonna be parents one day, and how society look at things is not always the right things as far as like relationships. People shy away from getting married. Oh, I don't want to get married. You know, you hear people say that a lot, and they think that's like a bad thing. But another thing too, I have like the greatest in-laws ever. You know, most people don't get along with their in-laws. Like my in-laws are like, they treat me like I came out of their womb. You know, so it's amazing. So you know, this is my little small take on it at the moment.
And that's a blessing. You know, it's I don't want to say it's rare, but it's a commodity. It's a somewhat of a rare commodity in this society. When when you start hearing in this day and time of people being married for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. In this time, 100 years ago, that was nothing. It was like, well, yeah, we got 80 years in, nothing, whatever like that. Nowadays it's so when you see examples of that, in this day and time, it definitely gives hope to the younger generation, when they're able to see these things. Like with me, the only real example of marriage that I had in my family that I could say, okay, was really my grandfather on my mother's side, my grandfather and my grandmother. And it started off as a one night stand. It was, my grandfather was, well, I think he might have been the first so-called black person in New York City to work for Pepsi Cola, in the 1950s. And so that, that was a big deal for that time. So he, there was a name attached to that, like, oh yeah, he works at Pepsi. And he met apparently my grandmother, who was apparently she was some type of gang member back then. I'm from Coney Island, so it was like, they met on the boardwalk, summertime, Coney Island, the amusement park or whatever. They met, and one thing led to another. They had a little situation, and it was like, okay, we did what we did, and I'm only imagining he probably was like, yeah, all right, we did what we did, peace, and kept it moving. But apparently, she got pregnant, and he was like, you know what? And this is, of course, this is all coming from my mother, how she explained these things to me. That he was like, you know what? I grew up without my father. I'm not going to do this in this situation. He didn't even love her. He was just like, yo, I don't, according to him, according to, the family, he wasn't particularly fond of the girl. Like, whatever, we do what we did. And that was it. I don't like you. I don't love you. It was sex. But apparently what ended up happening was that he learned to love her, because it was like, you know what? You have my child. And this is going to have to work, because I'm not going to have my child grow up without their father the way that I did. And then, 8 children later, it's, and he's, so he stuck it out at a time where, you figure he didn't have to, because it wasn't like there was any kind of agreement or covenant, any promise. It was what it was. It was like, it was like Jacob, not Jacob, it was like Judah, going through the city, checking out, checking out the women. And so, but what he decided was, you know what? No, I'm not going to do what my father did. I'm going to stick it out, even though I don't have any real feelings for this woman, but I'll learn to love her or whatever, or she'll learn to love me and whatever. And so, like I said, this was like this was like maybe 56, 57 maybe, at the time. And they were together until, till she died. She died of a drug overdose, but that's another story in itself. But that was the only thing that I knew of people who stuck it out, even when they didn't really have to, but they were like, they made a conscious decision to stick it out. So of course, those examples kind of made me look at it and say, well, okay, yeah, that's a good example. But unfortunately, when you start looking around everywhere else and you don't see good examples of marriage, good examples of settling down or whatever, it's just like the brother Nashawn said, you start kind of like, you have that sentiment of like, nah, I ain't getting married. Why am I gonna get married for? Because you look at the examples and you're like, you know what? The chances of me having a marriage that's good, it's looking slim. So you know what? Rather than get screwed over, especially if I have some money, you know, whatever, I'm not going to get screwed over. And you have females that feel the same way sometimes. It's like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. And so, and so I say all of that just to say that when we talk about settling down, there's so much stuff to unpack with that, and time, opportunity. Are we settling down because we love the person? Are we settling down because it's just the right thing to do? Going back to what everybody said about the peer pressure and things of that nature. So I just said all of that because I think as I was listening to Ak Nishan about his experience or whatever like that, I think that that's kind of like a beacon of light. When you consider that in most cases, marriage is marriage is a disaster waiting to happen. So when you see a successful one, you're like, Todaya, all praise to the Most High.
So yeah, I'm not sure where Isaiah is, but I'll just jump in. I definitely agree with everything that was said. I think that of course we don't have any good examples too, but I think even with settling down, settling down for what? You know what I'm saying? I think that in the examples that we were given, like was Evelyn with your four parents, like it was a conscious decision and it was based off of your I guess it would be your grandfather, right? Or your great grandfather. It'll be your grandfather. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
Grandfather and grandmother.
Okay, yeah, grandfather and grandmother. It was just him trying to like do the right thing by his future children, because it's his kids regardless. You know what I'm saying? So that was different. And then the same thing with Sean, it was like, I always use the word fate, but I mean I'm not sure how else to use it. It was divine. Something else was going on behind the scenes to make it happen. So I think that's something interesting to even just dive into a little bit more, because we're talking about settling down, but often however our life ends up when it comes to a picking a spouse, it's not even up to us, you know what I'm saying? And to even be open, I think to even be open to having that happen. So maybe it's not, because I think if we chose, like you were saying, Sean, and we, in our minds, we would, especially if you are older and you done already fornicated and had relationships when you was younger, your concept of relationship is all screwed up. So it's difficult to look at marriage or any relationship in a positive light, because you're looking at like, why would I trust anybody? You know what I'm saying? And whether you was the one that did the dirt, and none of us innocent. Even if you chose the person, you still guilty. If that makes sense to people. But even deciding to just settle down, and I think that my thoughts on it is settling down means that you decide to be with one person. So I think people know, like, most people I hang out with are men, and I've always been that way. I grew up in a household with my daddy and my brother, and so it's not like I like dudes because I'll be trying to flirt, but I just vibe with men, period. Even now on this platform, I'm the only woman, but I'm cool because I like dudes. So I think that that's who I am, and I don't think that this is controversial too, but it's not necessarily you not being around the opposite sex, because that's kind of impossible. How are we brothers and sisters, as we say so much in this community, and we don't have brothers and sisters literally around us? I think it's settling down, knowing that there's boundaries and there's barriers, and you're going to honor those boundaries and those barriers the same way we try to honor the Most High through the Torah. It's the same kind of concept. So my idea of settling down is, again, committing to one person, finding out about that person, like, how can I serve my partner? And then that person asking, how can I serve my partner? And having it be like that. And then having y'all be the examples of the Most High and his people in your relationship, if you want to even take it that far. You know what I'm saying? But that servitude thing is going to happen either way, whether or not you're in the community. But I think your household is the example. Like you said, Sean, we talk about our kids, but y'all are an example to me, and I'm not your kid. So it's just being an example of what a functional marriage looks like, despite the drama y'all have been through, because that ain't nothing that we can't say we haven't been through, but to be an example, because somebody got to do it. Somebody got to survive. I actually know another couple as well. They, you know, they probably 31, something like that. They've been together for, I guess, 12 years or something like that. And they done had their struggles, but they got like 7, 8 kids, and they're beautiful, and I love them. So the more people we can have around us to show that, yeah, this can work, because there's plenty of examples of how it can't work, but the more we have positive examples, that's the balance that we need. And so that when we decide to settle down, we can have people, especially if they're honorable, that we can go to and say, hey, this is going on, you know, what do you think? How did you move past it? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my thoughts about that. Isaiah, did you want to jump in on that question? What does settling down mean?
Yeah. Y'all all made some good points. I think settling down, like as I alluded to a little earlier, is that ability to, I guess, kind of slow down in life. People talk about your 20s. I believe there's even a term like your raging 20s or something like that. Just the ideal of kind of just living life. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you sound kind of low. It might be on my end, so I apologize. But if you can speak a little louder.
Yeah. Hello, hello. I guess everybody else is away. Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Cool. So, you know, like I was saying, just slowing down in life and taking that time and thought, you know, because I don't think settling down. I mean, in this reference, yes, it is referring to, I guess, getting in a relationship with someone or being committed to a person solely. Are coming down and say, okay, I'm gonna look at life a little differently, or decide to live life a little differently. I think all of those things become a finite thought or something that's fixed in the mind when you choose to make that decision. So I guess the question is, what is settling down? I think that's um, the collective thought to slow down life in a sense and focus in on more important matters than what you would have looked at in an immature state or in a state that was more selfish than others. So that to keep the show flowing smoothly, I'm just going to end it there.
And I just wanted to say something along with that, because I thought about this. We were talking about it earlier, and that is, I think the brother Isaiah had mentioned about the whole thing of, you know, settling down because, you know, you were probably out and about doing this, that, and the third or whatever, and finally it's like, okay, you know what? Let me get my head together. I just wanted to kind of put in there that there's an interesting double standard to that too. Because as men, you know, we're out and about, and you know, we're, as we used to say, we gathering up the chicks or whatever like that, and doing what we do, you know, and we do it for years and years. And it's like, you know, we always say, hey, you know, it's time for you to settle down, brother. You know, time to settle down and have a family. And usually it's looked at like, yeah, you know, you've been out doing what you do. It's time to settle down, and that's accepted. Unfortunately, women are not really given the same. You know, if a woman is out dilly-dallying and she done collected a whole bunch of dudes over the past few years, and, you know, and just been kind of like just, you know, running ragged or whatever, you know, and then you tell her sister, yeah, sister, it's time for you to settle down. You know, a man is not going to look at you like, yes, let's settle down. He's going to be like, yeah, yeah, you're washed up, sis. I don't know if I could do it. But it's an interesting double standard because you know, you don't hear women saying like, "Oh, you done been up to like 20 women. You're washed up." Like you don't really hear that. You know, it's almost like men settling down tends to be something that's celebrated in the sense like, yes, finally, you've gotten it through your head. Let's get your head together, settle down with one woman, and it's almost like a celebratory thing. Whereas a woman who does the same thing, there's no celebration. It's like, oh no, you're washed up. Your thing is stretched from New York to Cali. You're finished. And it's a very I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it's an unfortunate, me, coming from somebody who was a heavy fornicator in my youth. These are the things that I saw, the crazy double standard of it. So that's why I say sometimes maybe when we look at the term settling down, we may have to, maybe rethink the narrative that's attached to it. Like, we should not have to settle down. Our lives, at least from an ancient perspective, our lives, girls from the time that they are able to walk, they are already being groomed for eventual marriage. The boys, from a very young age, they're being groomed by their father to do the things that men do. Get out in the field, boy, let's go do this work. You're gonna learn, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. The girls, they're inside, whatever, with the mother doing the things that the mother does. You know what I'm saying? They're sewing, they're cooking, they're out buying land, or whatever it is that they're doing. The young girl is learning. So she's learning through a long process from her youth of it's leading to marriage. It's not like we're out just doing whatever we're doing willy-nilly and then say, you know what, maybe I should go ahead and get married. Like that's actually that's not only lunacy, but it's whoredom. And that's why I say that the narrative has to be altered, because it's almost like we're groomed in this society to, especially with the women now. They're telling women, like, listen, you shouldn't be settling down with no man at 20, 25 years old. You haven't lived your life. You need to go out and experience life, do everything that you need to do, get your career and have fun. And then when you're 40 or whatever, hint, hint, washed up, then you can go settle down. And it's like, no. So women are being told to do that. Men are also now being told to do that. Like, nah, don't settle down with no one chick, man. You come on, man. You come on, player. You know what I'm saying? Get out there and do what you got to do. And then after everything is said and done, and you done been whoremongering for the past 20 years, now you're being told to settle down. And it's like, from an American standpoint, I get it and it makes sense. But from a Hebraic standpoint, we have to kind of reconsider these things. So I just wanted to just insert that.
Yeah, that's good. I do. That's why I love you, Zebulon. You always bring out the balance in the conversation as far as that's concerned, because that's true. I've always wanted to be a wife. Like, I'm like, I never thought that I wouldn't be a wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think my auntie would probably roast me right now if she heard me say that, because I think at one point I was like, oh, I don't want no kids. I don't know what I was on when I said that, but yeah, it's just I've always wanted to be a wife. So even though I was simultaneously being groomed to like pursue a career, go to school, and all that other stuff, I still didn't think that was that path would conflict with having a family and kids. So I definitely agree that the messages are different, and I think too that now I don't know what people are talking about, because I don't know. I think the younger generation is, I'm sure it's a whole different conversation, and even with my oldest son, because he's 15 and he's in high school, and we was having a conversation yesterday. I won't tell you because he was telling me in confidence, but I think he was just talking about just the culture of high school now is a lot more is whatever. Everything is whatever. There ain't no standards no more, and so we know that we're not necessarily following what the world says. We know we have a foundation and a standard too, but it's just good to be able to talk about both of them, because we gotta live in this world, you know what I'm saying? So the people we're gonna meet, unless we're blessed enough to meet somebody walking in the way, which is few and far between, because the people that walk in the way, they still be on nonsense, you know what I'm saying? So, but just being open to finding somebody who's even on the same page, so that you can air quote settle down or create or establish some kind of foundation in which to raise a family on. So the next question is, how do you know you're ready to settle down? I think some of us have already talked about it. So how do you know, or how did you know if you're already married or if you want to be married? Either way, how did you know you was ready to settle down?
Well, I know, like in my case, it was more or less like like we already had my oldest son already, and we was living together, and then like we was going to this Sunday church or whatever, and I don't know, it was just kind of weird though. Like I said, I think that our marriage was arranged by the Most High because just how everything happened. You know, like I said, I went away to school, came back home, ran into her. We broke up, whatever case it was, ran back to her again. We just kept running back to each other. But we had my oldest son, we were living together, and it was just like weird. We both felt like that, like something's not right. You know, we need to get married, you know. And it was just like I said, it was just weird. But we ended up getting married because we felt like that was the right thing to do. And that was something that Most High put in our heart because it was, like I said, we both was going to a Sunday church, and it was just like, you know, and I don't know, it's just like I said, I think sometimes you just get that, you know, like you couldn't tell me that was gonna be my wife even when I first met her, you know, but it was just like how everything happened, it was just like it was destined, you know. I think she's trying to tell people at work, like, yeah, our marriage was arranged, you know, and you know, I think I did have to work so many years and all that, and I think I'm still paying for it now, you know, but you know, but he most definitely had his hand in it, and like I said, he put that in our heart for us to be like, oh, let's go and get married, because you know, I don't think my wife she didn't want, you know, kids and all that, you know, only child. I think she just wanted to, you know, do her, you know, how to, you know, but like I said, a lot of times when the Lord got his hands in things, you know what I'm saying, there's nothing you can do about it. And we built off our foundation off of him. He's the head, and then we follow his lead, you know, and like I said, it's why we're able to go through things and be able to go through it together, because we both had that foundation. It's like that. But you know, you get that feeling, you get that in your heart, is that the right person or not, you know, just by situations or whatever. But in our case, it was like I said, we was living together. We already had a child already, and we like did everything backwards. But it was like, okay, you know, we might as well go ahead and do this right, you know. So most definitely, it was. I mean, I did something I did learn from my Sunday church for the most part. It ain't like learn anything else, but that was one of those things that we did end up, you know, doing once we was going to this Sunday church, and everything. Like I said, Lord, I put it in our hearts for us to make it official.
Yeah, that's a hard question. This is a hard question, and because I guess it's for some people it's relative. You know, I think everybody is looking for different things, you know, in marriage. You know, everybody doesn't come to the table looking for the very same thing. Some people are looking for companionship. Some people are looking for, you know, dependency. I mean, it's a lot that people can. But for me, you know, just from my experience and the things that, you know, that I've realized from trial and error as well, that I think that you're ready to settle down when you don't actually need the love of that other person. And I say that because I've realized, and this is from personal experience years ago when I was coming up. There was I had a strong level of, again, that fear of, you know, of attaching myself to a woman. You know, like, you know, I'll deal with them, but it's like, nah, but we're not in all that marriage and being together and all that mushy stuff. No, thank you. Really wasn't with it. But I realized that a part of me was craving it because it had a lot to do with early abandonment issues of my mom, you know, whatever like that, not being there, me going into foster care at 8 years old, and all of that other stuff that comes along with it. So as you're starting to get older, you begin to see relationships not necessarily as equal footing, like, hey, you know, we're going to come together for companionship purposes. You're going into relationships trying to fill a void that wasn't filled 30 years prior. You're looking for love because you haven't quite figured out, number one, that you love yourself, and you haven't quite figured out even if you are worthy of being loved. And again, I'm speaking this from experience. So I think that one of the worst things that you can do going into any kind of relationship is go in with the need and the desire and the expectation of the other person loving you. Because now you're going in not really respecting them as individuals. You're looking at them almost like welfare. Like, listen, I don't have love. Give me that love. So they become more of they're giving you something, but you don't love them because of them. You love them because of the love they're giving you. And it's, for me, it's quite different. There's a difference in that. So one of the things that I've realized over the years is that once you love yourself to the point that another person's love is not really essential for you to love them, I think that's when you can now go into a relationship or a settling down, and it's with the right intentions. Because it's like, no, I'm coming in, I don't need you to love me. And when and so now there's no ulterior motives. Because some people, they're in love with the idea of being loved, not loving because they want to give love. And I had to learn, like I said, I had to learn that. And, you know, and like I said, it's been a up and down thing, especially in my younger years. But I've just realized that, you know, when you get to the point where you love yourself and you're comfortable with yourself and you're comfortable in your skin and comfortable with what you bring to the table as a person, as an entity or whatever, then you can actually go into these relationships, you know, like, hey, listen, I want to be with you because I want companionship. I want someone who sees the world not necessarily the same way I see it, but see it with similar lenses. And I want someone to enjoy that life. I want someone to enjoy these experiences in the world or whatever the case, because it is not good that man could be alone, or a woman for that matter. So I think that once you get past that you know, the element of needing to be loved, then you can love freely and not with some type of string attached to it. So that's my rant for the moment.
Man, it's funny that you said all that you said, because that's something oh, scratching and being loud. It's horrible. Excellent people, I apologize. That's something that I've echoed a lot of times. Being able to have the confidence, love, all of those characteristics kind of instilled within first before deciding to move forward and enter into a relationship that's you know, kind of removing all of those selfish qualities out the way, so you don't have to be dependent on that other person to make you feel some type of way, or depend on them to kind of put you in the mood of happiness or sad or anything else. It's kind of, those things have to be enforced and instilled within you. Like, you have to be the reason that you're happy. Not saying they can't add to that, but it should be an addition instead of the main dish. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you have dinner and then you might have ice cream for dessert or something. Their actions shouldn't be the substance for your nourishment. So I like what you said on that note. When to settle down. It's funny because I don't think there's a set time. I think, as you stated, Zed, it's kind of and even Nashawn, what you said, circumstances and mindset. I think everybody comes to a point where they feel like they're done with a lot. You know what I mean? And the headaches of doing those extra things, whether fun or not, the headache, the time, the energy that it consumes is not healthy anymore. It's not good. It's not productive. I think when a person is able to sit in that and say, okay, I'm ready for a change, that's when they can start thinking of that aspect of slowing down. I'll share a kind of personal moment, but not get too personal. I once had a group of roommates and we all lived together. Of course, they were my roommates. That would make that obvious. It was kind of, I guess you can say, my first, my second stint at living um, outside of the jurisdiction of my grandmother, who basically raised me the majority of my life. So we would have parties every week, just about. Um, spend excess money on alcohol, you know, snacks, and all of the good stuff that makes house parties what house parties are, legendary or not. People who are friends of mine on Facebook knows that these days are talked about as the dungeon days, or it's associated with the dungeon because that's what the name of the apartment was. Why? That's a whole nother story. But I remember sitting with one of my roommates. He may be watching later on, but he's not with us live at the moment. Um, so I'm not going to mention his name. But I remember sitting there and we were having a conversation, and I was explaining how I was tired of people who weren't genuine being around. And I think being in that mindset, he kind of set things and was explaining how, oh, this is fun. That we was having a good time talking about an event that happened. And my mindset was, it's just tiring. I want change. And of course that was the position that I had to be in order for me to start moving and making change. But at that same time, it was the mindset that came first. So I don't think when to settle down is a tentative position on time, more so than it is on your mindset. I know people who are 50 plus, you know, got married, got divorced, got married again, still outside with 13, 14 girlfriends, buying to this one to go slide over and do this. And so things that of that nature. And for them, it's no need speaking of something different because the mindset isn't there for that. Or the mindset to change their lifestyle isn't there. So I think once the mindset is introduced, or the want for something different, then you can begin to do that slow down process. If there's somebody else involved, I think, as is already stated, I think the whole position of choosing to have them as an addition to life and not life itself is the big point. So, like you said, you know, I am already instilled happiness within self. I'm fine with who I am. Can you make this more enjoyable? But I don't need you to. I don't need you to be there for me to find enjoyment. So it's kind of a selfish, I guess if you want to look at it, it's kind of a selfish mindset, but not selfish in the sense of I have to force or put somebody inside of a box or make them be something in order for me to be. So I'm going to yield it there with, I guess you could say, a little bit of a parable, but all in the same.
Yeah, that's interesting. Oh yeah. And I think too that the companionship thing is big. I would just add, because I don't want to repeat what everybody said, I would just add that if people are looking to settle down or to be in a relationship, to be clear, we all talk about contracts, but to be clear up front about why you were even with this person. Like I think I mentioned before about being courted to be in a polygamous relationship, and the brother told me why he thought it would be a good addition to his family. So just putting that out there, we should be clear about what is it about the other person that you want, like why would you want to be with them? You know what I'm saying? And if they had that conversation beforehand, because some things could just be friendships, you know what I'm saying? And it wouldn't even be no need to ever cross the line, you know what I'm saying? But to have that be clear in the beginning, that way there's no confusion, because emotions rise up the closer you get to a person, period, whether you're sexual or not. The closer you get to a person, the more you are dependent on them. And I know that that's not a healthy thing, but like I just say as a parent with my children, I love my children, you know what I'm saying? But I also feel like I can feel it in my spirit when they come and kiss me, or they say, "Mommy, I love you," or something. You know what I'm saying? So I understand intellectually that we should be, I actually agree with that. I believe that we should be comfortable in our skin. We should be cool whether people come and go because of our connection to our power, which is the Most High. So I think that if we are, like, I feel like I'm Abba's girl for real. I'm just saying that. I really do feel like it. If everybody else went away, I just can't have him leave me. Like, it would destroy me, you know? So, but everybody not necessarily at that point. And even people who are at that point still, like you said, Zebulon, it's not good for mankind to be alone. So of course you feel a desire to be with somebody else. So that companionship thing is real, but it has to be talked about and constantly refined and constantly repeated, and so there's nobody feels like they trapped, or nobody feels like they have to do something that's out of their character if the conversation continues. I hope that makes sense. All right. So the next question is this a decision that you come to on your own? Meaning, is this idea of settling down something that you come to on your own?
Well, like I said, in my case, I just think there was just something, like I said, that the Most High just put in our heart, because I said we already had my son already. We were living together, and it was like, why not just go ahead and go all the way with it, And like I said, like I never, like I wanted children. I never thought that I would, be settled down and have a wife. Like I said, how society dictate things, whatever. I thought it was cool just to have kids, whatever. And even when I just had my oldest, I was content with just having a one child, and it's so crazy how, like, you grow up, like I said, growing up and try to be a playboy or whatever, and then like the Lord give you a daughter, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the double standard, you don't want anybody to do that to your daughter or this and that. So it's just funny how how the Most High do things, and but it do humbles you greatly, because like I said, you still have to be that example. But like I said, it was just instilled. It was just in us. And like I said, just how everything happened, it was just like, I guess it was just destined for us to be together, and to go through the things we've been through to make us stronger and stuff like that. And then I have heard, plenty of people say, "Oh, y'all, y'all a perfect example," or whatever, this and that, and that's humbling when people say those things, because like I said, people just see the outside, but they don't really necessarily see what's going on behind closed door, and that's what makes it even more worthwhile when you can't overcome the obstacles and everything. And like people use the word love so loosely, and it's like Most High said, you love me, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. Same thing in a partnership, in a relationship, you got to make sure that y'all really do love each other for real. Because like I said, it's a loosely thrown out word, so if you love each other like you say you do, you won't hurt each other. You gonna love them as you love yourself, so you're not gonna talk about yourself, that y'all supposed to be one, those type of things. So you got to make sure that y'all most definitely on the same page and stuff. And like I said, it's easy to say, "Oh, I love you," or it's easy to just have kids too. Some people have kids and keep it moving, don't take care of their kids. But when you can do it together and go through the trials and tribulations together, it makes the relationship more worth it, I should say. And like I said, I just my experiences. It's just like I said, you couldn't told me this so many years ago that, oh yeah, you'd be married, settle down, this and that, because my mindset wasn't at that level. But through anything you go through in life, it's supposed to be a learning process. It's supposed to be growth, and you're supposed to be able to learn from your things and learn from mistakes and things like that. Even like I talk to my oldest son a lot. He's on the patio, and it's like I tell him all these crazy stories and stuff, and I'm not proud of it, because it's like, it was foolishness. There's things I did, being foolish. But it's something to teach him, to show him, don't make the same mistakes as well, because like I said, a lot of things I did, because like my dad, like I said, he didn't have a father to teach him, things. A lot of things he learned, and then a lot of things I was doing, and it was just like, it was applauded, and So I just try to teach my boys, you know, to look for, you know, if you would be somebody, the quality, somebody, like my dad always said, you know, get somebody that's going to be ladylike, going to be feminine, that smells good, they're going to take care of themselves, you know. He always said, you got to put your hands on them, you don't need to be with them, all these things, you know, and those things always resonated well with me, even growing up, you know, and I saw the perfect example as a man, you know, who met my mom, you know, who had already had kids already, you know, and to take him in as his own, you know, I think that's a stand-up person. So that was somebody who a lot of my qualities I got from him, you know, and that was the thing that he was teaching me growing up. And I try to instill in my boys as well, you know, even like my daughter, I try to teach her, you know, because she at that age, 15, she's in high school, she's at that age now. And I know, like I said, you know, just don't settle for anything, just any guy, or don't put yourself out there like that. You know, you carry yourself like a young lady's supposed to carry themselves. And I try to show her the way I show her mom, like I showed her example of how I treat her mom. Hopefully she don't have them, pick no knuckleheads and things like that, you know. And like I say, all you do is just try to show them lead by example as being a parent. You know, like I said, we in a Black household, we don't see a lot of that. We don't see a lot of families together, mom and dad in the same household. But when you do see those things, like I said, you want to, if they do, they follow a perfect example. That's, you know, but you want to follow after what they're doing, because like I said, you know, like I said, and we still learning things. It's still every day, still a learning process. But the one thing, like I said, I can always say is just the fact that we on the same page and just come and serving the Most High God. Because one thing about when you in a marriage, you know, you have to be on the same page and stuff. But even when it's come to serving God, you have to be on the same page, because sometimes, like you say, some people could be going serving the Most High God. The other person is just whatever that, you know. But when it's together, it makes it much more easy to deal with things. And like I said, be on the same page and stuff. And like I said, I know sometimes that I might not be right in my mind about certain things, whatever, and she'd be the one who will uplift me and vice versa. So we never down at the same time. So that's always key too. We never down at the same time, and we uplift each other, I should say, you know, when we had those moments.
Yeah. Oh, good. No, you was gonna go out there?
If you're not, I mean, I don't want to step on your toes.
Well, yeah. No, if you want to go, I'll go after you. It's cool.
Okay, I'll be quick. I have I think the question was does other people kind of restate the question again. I want to make sure
Is this a decision that you come to on your own? Meaning, like, it's settling down something you come to on your own?
I definitely don't think it's something that you come to on your own. I think as Nashan said, as far as you know, experience through life, I think those experiences are only gathered based around the people who are there in some case, in most cases. I'm not going to say only, but in most cases, that's that's the way in which you come to that mindset. I think everybody collectively around you, people who you are involved with, even some situations, put you in the place to make that decision or have that mind state. Especially when it comes to being with a particular person or sitting there and saying, okay, I want to move forward in this way. Because that other person has their own life and everything. And that's something you would have to examine to kind of see if, you know, y'all want to be in that position or even feel as though y'all fit. So to say that that's something you come to solely, I don't think that's the case. I think the end result is based off of how you feel and what decisions you make. But I think that initial thought is, you know, when that starts off, I guess, openly, then kind of narrows down to you, like a funnel, so to speak, you know. All of these different messages, lessons, and everything is kind of playing back on you, and you think and you say, okay. And you have this person here, and you're like, okay, I really feel this way about this person, or I really feel this. So you have to kind of take all of that in and say, um, you know, weigh the cost. Weigh the cost. I think that's the easiest way to put it. Um, so that would be my answer. Like I said, I'll be short. So, Zeb, you got the floor.
And let's be very clear. We're all Israelites here, so there's no such thing as short anything. Everything we do is, to the extremes. So, we operate on Israelite time. 5 minutes in Israelite time is really an hour. So whatever. Yeah, you know how we do. But I was gonna say, just as a sidebar, to what I was, my main point was something that Brother Nashan said about, daughters, having daughters, and the irony is, when I look at my daughter, I think about the day that she's going to become a teenager, and there's going to be boys looking, and it frightens me. And the reason why I say that, and I think all fathers go through this, if you were a real, I don't want to use the terms I want to use, but if you were a very horrible male figure in your teen years, when it came to women, it came to whatever, and being promiscuous and just being very whatever, these are the things that we celebrate on one hand until that day you have a daughter, and then you're like, no, I want her to be with the best possible man. No, 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 no. She's gonna be with a loser just like you were. I mean, these things go through your mind. I mean, as a man, as a father, you have no choice but to think of these things. When you have a son, like my first, my oldest is a boy. So when you have a son, he becomes a teenager. You're like, yeah, son, you growing your beard in? Your beard coming in, boy? No doubt, son. You're gonna get the sister. Sister's gonna be checking you. Make sure your turban's leaning a little bit to the side. You're gonna be good. You know what I'm saying? And this is what we do with sons. But with daughters, you're like, no, you're not gonna go out. I don't care. I don't care. You're 18. You're not going out. No dating. No nothing. Just because you start thinking about how you were at that age, and you're like, no, I don't. I pray Yah that she never runs into somebody like how I used to be. So it's kind of like a bittersweet thing. It's like, I love my little girl, but I just be like, oh man, please don't let don't let her run into some knucklehead or whatever. But so when yeah,
enjoy being her being a child right now, a little kid, because man, I'm telling you, middle school and high school ages are just over with.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Aki. It's gonna be a wrap, man. I'm gonna become that other type of parent. Be stalking the boys' houses, be like, yo, come near my daughter. I'm real good. I'm real good with the figure four. I'll put you in a figure four. You'll never get out. But that was the point I just wanted to make. Is when I heard you say about the daughters, and I just made me think like, oh boy, I don't even want to think about the day when, So, but as far as is the process of settling down? Is it something that you do on your own, or does it take more than one person? I think the process of getting yourself to the point where settling down is an option. I think it's a solo project. The process, of course, is solo, because that's when you're figuring you out. When you're like, okay, first of all, am I worthy to be with this prospective woman? I think a lot of us sometimes we get caught up in our ego, like, yeah, of course, I'm saying she should be worthy to be with me. We get caught up in the ego, whatever, and it's like, well, no. Let me think about this. If I were another person, if I was somebody that was approaching my daughter, do I think I would be a good fit for my daughter? And if we're honest with ourselves, sometimes you're like, No, maybe. No, I think you need some more work. I think you need some more work. You know, and I think so. I think the process it's the initial process is a solo one because you got to get your head together. You got to get your morals together. You got to get your standards together. Because a lot of times, like I said, we be jacked up, but we think because we're, you know, like, hey, you know, I'm a certain age now, and I got my beard piece is ridiculous. Yes, this sister should be, you know, she should want me. Yeah, that sounds good in cartoons and you know, on Tyler Perry movies, but not in real life. You know what I'm saying? But to what the brother Isaiah was saying, I think after you figure out where you are as a person, then going forward, now it has to become a collective. In Hebraic culture, that's exactly how it was done. There was no, well, I'm going to make a decision to settle down. No, no, this is usually when your father says, listen, boy, you're of age now. Have you seen a fair maiden out there that you are interested in? And because they're going to be the ones that's going to go and speak to the parents of that sister, whatever like that. And they start talking, hey, listen, this is the situation, you know, yada, yada, yada. We started talking about dowry, all of these different things. So, you know, like Isaiah said, it can't be a solo project going, you know, forward, but the initial stage of getting your head together and making sure that you're right and exact and that you are in fact a good that basically you're like tuna fish, you know, you're a good catch for this, you know, for this sister. You got to make sure you're right. Otherwise, you know, it's otherwise it becomes a waste of your time and definitely a waste of the time of the person that you're going to be settling down with. But yeah, I definitely agree with Isaiah that it's that's the Hebraic thought that the whole community, the community comes together to establish the whole process of settling down. You know, definitely brothers come in, especially if there's no father there, whatever like that. You know, then somebody like Nashon slips in and says, yeah, what's good, whatever, and he regulates the situation because he's now the new covering for the daughters of his family. That's how it is. The fathers, the brothers, the uncles, so on and so forth. And it's the same thing on the other side. You know, the family of the male. You know, they're coming to the table. You know, because now they got to vouch for their son. They got to vouch for their daughter to say, "Oh yeah, she is a good catch," or "Yes, he is a good catch," as opposed to saying, "Nah, nah. If I were you, I probably wouldn't. Maybe come back in another year, and he'll be ready." You know, these are the things that we have to consider. So yeah, indeed, it's definitely the process. The larger process is a communal thing, but the initial process, at least as far as I'm concerned, the initial process is a solo project because you have to be the one to figure out, am I ready? Your parents might think you're ready, but if you're not sure, then you're just not ready. So
Yeah, that's a good point too, which I think leads into the next question about peer pressure. I would say that definitely I agree with everybody as far as a decision that you come to on your own. I think that you know, like self examination and trying to figure out, you know, why you like what's going to be different about your life if you enter into if you decide to be with somebody. Yeah, and even like I had mentioned to my oldest son, I forgot what he said or what happened, but we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, you know, you're not going to be. I think he was playing, but he was like, you're not going to be like telling me who I should date or whatever he said. I think he was talking about dating in general, something. And I was telling him, you know, the things I thought he should pay attention to, blah blah. But I kind of told him that growing up, like I kind of want to know, like, who is she? You know what I'm saying? You might think this or that and the third, but like I can see. My eyes is getting dimmer because I'm getting older, but I can still see. Like I can see through the bull crap. And the things that you're distracted by, you know what I'm saying? So I think that we do miss the opportunity because we don't have that. We're not operating in that wisdom where we're allowing people to give us feedback on this prospective person. Like we don't, you know, people, and not just people who might know them socially. I'm talking about their family. If they have people around that even vouch, and that's something good to say that up front. If you have people around that can, you know, help you decide, then by all means, especially people that you trust, you know, and somebody who's rooted in some kind of spiritual foundation, you should definitely, you know, consider talking to them and seeing how they how they move. And I think that's kind of what they say in the Christian community. They say they talk about court, and they say, oh, you only go out with a group of y'all. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to like be blocking. I think that's just to keep people around, keep people around who might, you like this person and you can't really see, and you don't know that when you turn your eyes, this person is trying to holler at your friend. You know what I'm saying? So those things matter. But I know that's archaic. We think that's old fashioned. But for anybody that's younger or thinking about courting, that's something to just think about. So next question.
I was just going to say that even in the scriptures, even in one of the arguably the worst example of Hebraic marriage that we can go in scripture with Shimshon, Samson, even in his delinquency, and he's a very interesting judge because he was a judge of Israel, but his moral compass was
he was a trip.
Yeah, he was like a Debo. He was only good for muscular things. Like, okay, let me go regulate the Philistines, go break their heads with this jawbone, and call it a day. But as far as his intellect, he was no Deborah. Nobody was coming to Samson, saying for deep ruminations on scripture. So, like no. But listen, I have this town that I need you to destroy. Can you do that? But even in Samson's delinquency, what did he concerning the woman of the land? What did he do? He didn't just snatch her up and say, "Hey, listen, come here, woman, you're gonna be mine." He went to his parents and said, "Get her for me, for wife, for she pleaseth me well." Why does he at his age, as they say, a grown man, whatever like that, when he could have clearly just took her, snatched her up, and put her under the arm, whatever, he still goes to his parents and says, "Get her for me to wife, because she pleases me." Because even in his delinquency, he still understood that there was a protocol that, oh no, I cannot make this move unless my lords, my father and mother, who are my lords on this earth, they have to come in and vet the situation and say, yeah, or no. So even he still acknowledged that. And this is the worst case of marriage that the scripture is probably ever going to give you. Because he was insane when it came to women. Which is the irony that I'm saying that. But he was but even in that situation, that he still recognized that his decision to move forward with this woman was still, like Brother Isaiah said, it was still a communal decision. He still had to go to authorities and vet the situation to determine if, in fact, he can move forward.
Yeah. And also, since we're doing Bible study, the other example was, I can't think of the names, but whoever tried to take Dinah, whatever that guy's name is.
Shechem?
Yes, exactly. He was from another nation. He still was like, he took her physically, but he still was like, when tried to like make it right, whatever. So.
Yeah, he was a sexual deviant, but he still had a little bit of morals. Be like, I'm gonna rape you, but I'm gonna get permission first.
Right.
Like, what?
Right. Crazy. So the next question is, what part does peer pressure play in making such a decision? So now we're looking at the community more, and not necessarily the community, because I think we would agree that you need to have a second voice. But peer pressure, like the people around you who, friends. Like I think Isaiah earlier, you was talking about your auntie whispering in your ear. So how important are those excessive voices in forcing you or pushing you to feel like you gotta, especially if you're not ready?
Do y'all mind if I go first? Or?
And mind you, the way that Isaiah said that earlier, I was going to say something at the time, but because it was serious, I didn't want to inject any humor. But the way he said the whispering part, I swear, it looked very crafty. He's like, yeah, just whisper in the ear. It's like what manner of false doctrine are they putting in you, brother?
Don't have these babies. I guess I'll go first. Previously on other love languages shows, I believe this was at our blog part. at our blog talk stages, we talked about the pros and cons of having wise counsel and having people to speak to and all of that. So I'm not going to rehash that. Um, what I will say is peer pressure is not always a bad thing, I guess, in this manner, because sometimes people might see things that you don't see within yourself, and they're like, "Hey, you know, go handle that," or "Hey, go look at this," or "Think about this mindset." So having those extra set of eyes on life to kind of offer and instill something positive might be a good thing. I think it becomes a problem when the person receiving the information puts too much stake in the person or the peer giving the information, or they value their opinion over their own life. For example, if someone's telling you to go do something, or hey, go get with this girl, it might be, let's say they feel as though it'll be a financial, might make put you in a better financial position by being with them. They have a clear agenda, might have a good, might not necessarily be bad for your life as far as they want to see you in a bad place. But at the same time, maybe you see some things about that person that you don't feel is necessarily positive to be in a long lasting relationship with, or so thus you won't do it. Um, when you value their opinion over your own life, you say, okay, well, this is what you say to do, so I'm gonna do it. It's not necessarily a good ideal to have or a good way to be. So I think when you hear things from people, it's kind of like the saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The bathwater might be dirty, but at the end of the day, the baby's still clean. So take the good stuff and
But the baby irritating though. Then what do you do when the baby cry too much?
dum dum dum. I guess you have a dilemma. Maybe you could get a baby a bottle or something like that.
I can't with
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't.
How do we save it now? The show has officially gone off rails. Um, only thing we need right now is you know, brother Shema to add his just a drop of sarcasm in there. But no, collecting myself. I think the ideal is to take the good information, ponder upon that, and see how it fits your life. Um, a lot of times we see, just like with anything else, peer pressure, elder pressure, because not all these people giving you these answers are your peers. But pressure from outside sources is always going to be there. All walks of life, no matter what you're doing. There's people who care about you, and there's also people who want to see you fail. So, with that being said, it's always going to be somebody sitting there like, hey, you should do this or you should do that. This worked for me. Thus, is the best outcome for the world. Not necessarily the case, but people have their biased opinions and feelings. The ideal is to remember that you're living your life and it's your life at the end of the day. So, whether they mean good or bad, you still have the final say on what that choice is. Unless there's some weirdness going on, like, they blackmailing you to do something, but that's another story for another time. Um,
What? I said
oh,
blackmail. What the?
I'm just saying, you never know. Somebody might have a gun and like, you gonna go get married. Matter of fact, me and a friend used to joke about another buddy of ours who got married and was like, this had to be a shotgun marriage because he was the last one you would have thought to get married. But it's funny. I wish he was on this show to kind of talk about that aspect of settling down because it was literally like a portion of his life where we were just known for him kind of like having no standards, to one day getting an invitation in the mail like, hey, you're invited to my wedding. And we're like, what? So it's funny how those things happen. So he would have been his testimony would have been really nice to have on this show. Um, of how exactly did he come to that mindset? But that was the joke. The running joke was her daddy must have had a shotgun pointed at him and was like, "You gonna marry my daughter?" Um, so pressure is always going to be there. The ideal is being mindful of where it's coming from, who it's coming from, and how does it fit your life. Because just because somebody tells you to do something or gives you advice on what to do, you don't have to take it. So I said all of that just to get there. So go ahead.
Yeah, as far as like the peer pressure aspect of, well, I know like coming up, my dad would always tell me, he said, you know, if you ever get married, make sure that's something that you really want to do. You know, it's very serious. Like, it's just like, you know, I didn't understand what he was saying at the time, you know, but I understand more now. You know, and like I said, that's something you shouldn't just rush yourself into, because it's really fully like a commitment. You know, you have to really like honor your vows. I mean, you know, it's a lot of things that go to it and go through it with. And a lot of people, like I said, they do it, get married, divorce, married, divorce, back and forth, back and forth. You know, and we know that marriage wasn't designed for a man and woman to get divorced. You know, it wasn't. You know, that wasn't the whole point. You know, and so even like the peer pressure aspect of it is, I think that, like I said, if you it's something that you have to really, really be serious about, something that you really want to, because it's a commitment. And like I said, it's something that you have to really, really, really be careful, you know, what you do with it, because like I said, you think about the divorce rate, you think about all the different things, you know, even in the marriage, you have to go through, like I said, trial, tribulation. I don't think nobody's marriage is perfect, you know, but it's something that you have to really be serious about. So I wouldn't necessarily pressure no one into doing it. I would just explain to them, you know, the pros and cons, you know, the do's and the don'ts and different things like that. And then go from there. But I would stress the point that it is something very serious. So if you're going to do this, make sure that you really fully all in on it, you know. And like I said, it's a commitment, it's a vow you making, you know. So you have to, if you're doing this, you got to make sure you making those, you honor those vows, and make sure you're doing everything that you're supposed to do. You know, especially if you're saying that if the Most High is leading your life, you know, you got to make sure that you do everything, because He sees everything too as well. So you got to make sure that it's something that's very, that you take it serious, I should say. Like I said, it's not, and it's not for everyone either, you know, but it's something that you have to put in consideration before you do. You know, like I said, I wouldn't pressure no one. I would just explain to them the pros and cons of it.
Indeed, and again, this goes back to what we spoke about briefly earlier, and that is that when you look at, because a lot of times, again, of course, as Hebrews, we try to refer back to the scriptures to give us insight into any of these type of topics, and but the difference between the backdrop of the scriptures and what we have today is that today we're not being prepped for marriage. We're not really being, you know, in our upbringing, we're not being raised for the purpose of marriage. Men are not being raised to be husbands. Women are not being raised anymore to be wives. These are things that basically, after your parents throw you out at 18 and say, hey, listen, all right, you graduated, it's time for you to go ahead and move out and do you. Now you're pretty much forced to kind of like figure it out. Whereas in ancient times, there was a communal system in place. This is the reason why there was no such thing as peer pressuring when it came to marriage in ancient times, because what was there to pressure you for? You've already been prepped from the time that you were 5 years old. You know, a 5-year-old boy, you're learning by observation, being around men, how to be a man, things that men do. You're learning from 5 years old, 10 years old, 15. By the time you're 18, there is no need for pressure. You're actually, if anything, you're pressuring yourself. Like, okay, I need to get this thing moving. I have the know-how. I know how I need to be moving. I know what I'm looking for, whatever like that. It's just a matter of me finding the sister who I want to do it with, and vice versa. Women in ancient times, they were already going into situations knowing, oh yeah, no, I already know I'm going to be with him because he's already been raised up around the families since we were 5 years old. I already know the manner of man he is. It's just a matter of getting his parents to agree. So there was never a pressure in ancient times the way it is today. Now it's pressure because many of us are not emotionally stable for marriage. And I don't say that as a, as a slight to, to any of us, but just saying that we're pretty much our parents, many of us, our parents, not really knowing for themselves, but they pretty much like kind of threw us to the wolves, so to speak. And kind of like now we have to kind of figure it out. And, am I good, marriage material? Am I, this or that or whatever? So I just think that with peer pressure today, it's that's a very serious thing. And probably the most serious, the biggest element of peer pressure, it comes from the prospective wife. Sorry. It comes from the prospective wife, and that especially when it comes to the issue of children. Women have what they refer to as biological time clocks.
Man's is ticking real loud. Can you hear it? Can you hear mine ticking real loud right now?
No, I don't hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be something for Isaiah to listen to. Nah, but you know what I'm saying? Like women, women have like almost like a natural pressure for them because they know that as they start getting to a certain age, they begin to. And I don't want to say this is a fact because it might not be fact, but there's a general belief that when women get to age 40, the idea of having children becomes less and less realistic. I'm not really a believer in that, but I do know that a lot of women do believe that. And that's fine. I mean, they have to work that out, in their own situation. Or they say work out their own salvation for that matter. But I do think that the pressure a lot of times with women who do want to start families, they may have, let's say, the prospective husband who might be like, yeah, but I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. I mean, let's work on our relationship, and then we'll work on the children's situation. But the woman, she might not really be trying to hear that. She might have a spirit like who was it, Raquel? Like, give me seed lest I die. Like, and then that's some pressure right there. So so I think a lot of times that when you start talking about pressure and settling down, you'll have men that might settle down specifically because of the woman. And he's like, well, I don't want her to, I know she wants children. I'm not really ready, but all right. Let's do it. Let's do it. And now, unfortunately, it's being done for the wrong reason. And so I think that's probably the most important peer pressure moment, because the viewpoint of the woman, probably more so than anybody else, actually matters now. Because if she's saying, hey, I want children, and immediately, this is a life decision that you got to make. It's because either it's, yes, we're going to do it, or no, I'm not going to do it, and you may want to maybe look at somebody else. It's, that's a hard one. And and I'm not going to get into it, whatever like that, but I know that firsthand. You get put in a situation and you end up kind of doing it because you want to make the other person happy, not because it's something that you genuinely want to do at that particular moment. So, yeah, I guess under best case circumstances, peer pressure shouldn't be a factor in our decisions to settle down. But sometimes, and in this case, that scenario, it might be one of the more dangerous scenarios that will make people fall for the peer pressure, so to speak.
That's a good point. I never thought about it like that, because when I was married, like like we got married, we was like Sean, we had already had our oldest son, and I think it was like, hey, you want to get married on Friday? Oh yeah, why not? We ain't nothing else to do, you know what I'm saying? I think it was something like that. But we got married and whatever. But I don't remember even really having issues. Well, we was young, so we're having issues about like having kids and then well, obviously we already had kids, and like when like we didn't like kids, but I can imagine that being a problem, especially in the current time frame where going back to the original comment about women, pursuing their degrees, and I guess whatever the narrative is now for women, I don't know. But get your stuff and then make sure you good, blah blah. I just feel like all of that is selfish conversation. I feel like if you are still thinking about your personal life like that, you don't need to be with nobody. Like that is a waste of people's time. You know what I'm saying? I think Zebulon, you said one time that time is the only commodity that you can't like refill. You didn't say it like that, but it was something like that. So I think that again, going back to the individual, like why are you with somebody? Are you with them so that you can kick it, which that's cool because that's the whole companionship thing. But if you're talking about being in a covenant and an actual relationship, those things have to either be discussed beforehand or placed in their appropriate place once you are with somebody. It ain't about what you want to do because you have all of that freedom before you decide to settle down. And that makes, to what Sean's point is, that makes a marriage even harder because you're gonna have problems regardless. But if you don't even know why you're there, are you second guessing why you even are in the situation, then you already said it's gonna fall. The house is gonna fall down. Unless you're willing to then make the necessary tweaks to reestablish the foundation. And I think marriages that have been around, like I'm sure Sean's, if you corner Sean, he'll tell you the details. But I'm sure if you, if you sit and think about it, they've had to work over things constantly and tweak things and whatever. So, also stuff. Oh, I wanted to give this example because I was thinking about peer pressure as far as marriage. The whole law that says if your brother dies and you don't have no kids, then the brother got to step in and do that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Levirate marriage.
Levirate marriage, exactly. Yep. So that's not like peer pressure, but that's kind of like what I was thinking about. And I was thinking about the story of Ruth and Boaz and how, Boaz, Ruth's mother-in-law was like, yeah, get him. You know what I'm saying? Go to him. She set it up. But then he, and his righteousness was like, well, somebody closer in kin, younger than me, you might want to. And then when the person who would have been the right person, air quote right person, because he was near of kin to her, what was like, no, I can't do it. Like at least the brother was honest, you know what I'm saying? He was like, well, I know I'm supposed to marry Ruth so that the dead son's seed can continue, but he had a problem with that. He was like, I'm not gonna have a kid with you, and then the kid's not really my kid. He had a problem with that. So I think even in ancient times, peer pressure was operating, but it was like still a willful, for the most part. I mean, I don't know all the ancestors and what they went through in their mindset, but there was still an opportunity for open conversation and to want it. Even like I keep saying, like with the Most High, like he want people that's gonna want him. He ain't trying to force himself on nobody. He don't want you to do stuff because you feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe he do. I don't want to speak for him, but I can't read that. I feel like he says choose, right? Choose this day who you gonna serve. Like choose me. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's the same thing in the law that he's given us. We have freedom to choose and make decisions, and peer pressure is there. But even when it's there, it's our own life to to figure that thing out. Like you said, Sean, marriage is not even meant for everybody. Ain't meant for that. You know what I'm saying? Or wouldn't thrive in it. I can't say they're not meant for it because again, I believe Genesis is the standard. But some people they know themselves enough to say, well, I can't have nobody tell me what to do, or I can't put myself in submission to this person, or I can't be, And I think a lot of the I think that has to happen. That conversation has to happen even in the midst of people peer pressuring you. I think people should feel open enough, going back to you knowing yourself, open enough to say, well, I hear what you're saying, auntie such and such, but I know how I am, and that ain't gonna work for me, And then maybe things will change over time, but never having your decision to be with somebody because somebody said you should be with them. So
And just to be mindful, like even with the Levirate marriage situation, and of course that term Levirate marriage is something that later commentators coined and placed on it, because it really wasn't a marriage per se. It was simply the brother saying, okay, my brother's dead. No seed of our house has been preserved with this sister. So, okay, well, I'm next up the bat, and I'm going to give you seed to raise up in my brother's name. Now, after that, now I'll still deal with you as, a widow, like, hey, like you're the widow of whatever like that, and don't worry, you're gonna be good, the family's gonna take care of you. But, I'm not your husband in the strictest sense, because my purpose was not to marry you. It was simply to preserve seed of our house in that situation. So I just want, because sometimes, like, I've heard other people say, oh man, that Levirate marriage law is insane, man. You get, the woman has to be forced to be with the man. It's like, well, no. You're not forced. The only thing that you just got to receive his seed. That's pretty much, and maybe that's force enough, but but you just, you take that, and then of course he's, the man who gave the seed is in a position where it's like, okay, now we're good. You're now, I'm still going to take care of you. The family's going to still make sure you're good because you're still part of the family. But his job is pretty much done. And that was just to preserve seed. And then in situations where the woman might feel like, wow, I was married to this man and I didn't become a mother with him. And so, she might feel that her purpose in life has been defeated because he's now dead. And so this was the other reason why so-called Levirate marriage was instituted, to kind of, give her that opportunity to have seed or whatever have you. So I just, that's just my 2 shekels. So.
No, I appreciate that. That's good. So okay, the last question is, what role does the concept of a shortage of good men and women play and further an idea of the need to settle? So I know y'all have heard that it ain't that many good Black men. I'm sure the same thing has been said about Black women. I have my own personal thoughts about it, but what do y'all think about? Do you think that pressures people to then just get anybody, settle down with anybody? The first person that smile without it being a crooked smile, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick you.
Well, I just think with all the, all the nonsense that's going on in the world, like all the homosexuality and just like, just all the crazy stuff that's going on, it's people that's like, well, it's not a good man out there, or even just situations that, women being, or even males too, that be in situations where like maybe just a bad choice of women or men you pick, and a lot of times in these situations, it's just like, oh, it's not no good person out here. It's not this, not that, but even with Black males, a lot of us either dead, in jail, or, rainbow bright, whatever, but, the thing is that's what caused a lot of people to be, well, I don't,
That was smooth.
Yeah. Although we know that rainbow don't got nothing to do with that, what I'm saying? We know that's the covenant the Lord made with the earth, so he won't flood no more, but, but I just think that people experience this with who they deal with, because that's one thing about the Most High. He show you how a person is when you meet a person. You know a person, so it's up to you, to either be with that person or not, because a lot of times he give you these signs and stuff, and a lot of times we don't take heed to those signs and stuff. Like I can't stand, like, I mean, people can't help who they love and who they want to be with. I just hate when brothers talk down and sisters, good sisters out here, they want your money, they want this, want that. And that drives me nuts. They go get somebody of another race and whatever and put them on this pedestal. But people is people. I don't care what color they are. People going to do you in, no matter who they are. But I just hate when, as people, we do that. We want to, because of bad experiences. But maybe it's the choice of people you pick. But it is a lot of good people out here. Got a lot of good males and females out here. Just who you trying to look for, who you trying to be with, or who's compatible with you. And like I said, you can't go by bad experiences, because in that case, it should be more or less like, well, I need to pick better people, who to be with, and nowadays people just laying down having babies by anybody. And it's insane, because you got people got all these kids, and then you don't have the father in the household, the pitcher, whatever, or if he is, he's half doing it, whatever. But it's all about who you pick and stuff. And like I said, to me, that's just a cop out or excuse to say, well, I want to be this way or that way, I want to be a man whore, whatever the case may be. I think it's just a reason for you to do those things because, like I said, it's your choice of who you pick. So you got to be more wise of who you pick. And like I said, the Lord, the Most High, give you signs of how a person is. You know, so when something happens, don't be looking all confused like, oh wow. But I think naturally, we think that we can change a person. You know, over time, we can kind of change them. You know, like my oldest son, I ain't gonna really put him out there, but like, you know, he got a little friend, whatever. She likes him, whatever, like that. But he don't look like her like that. He trying to tell her like, well, you know, just, you know, we cool, we friends like that. But I think she's trying to, you know, find some kind of way to, you know, change him to get him to give in. You know, but you know, if you don't have anything in common, if you're not like-minded, it's not gonna work in the first place. So just always gotta keep that in mind as well.
Me, you know, when it comes to that subject, and you know, this is a whole nother show in itself. But I'm really not a proponent of the shortage of good black women narrative or shortage of good black. You know, one thing that our people have never had a problem with, and that is a shortage in population. That you know, that sounds more like a Euro-Gentile problem. Well, there's a shortage. You know, we're not having. You know, that's their problem. But I don't think we've ever really had that issue. But I think what's happening is that through media, we're being exposed to certain small pocket populations of what I call ratchy poo females, and you know, and da-dun-da-da males. You know, these knucklehead males that you see on Maury and those platforms, or Love and Hip Hop and all of that nonsense. And these little pocket examples of black women in these horrible shows. And so when we see these, and it's constantly being shown on television and on these social media platforms all the time, we start to buy into the idea that there's a shortage, because all we see is what? All we see is the skullduggery. All we see is the damn whores and the whoremongers. So you start feeling like, man, this is what black people are. I mean, all other peoples, when they come to this country or whatever, and they go turn the TV and they see Maury, their understanding is, wow, black people are the most dysfunctional people I've ever come across. Look at these women, ratchy poo. No witchy poo, ratchy poo. And the men are just the most horrible, delinquent males that you can ever come across. And people's perception based on these little pocket examples, this now spreads into the belief that this is how our people are generally. I think that there are a lot of good, quote unquote, good black women. There's a lot of good, quote unquote, good black men. I think the problem is, you know, what I used to refer to as, a lot of times, we're dumpster diving. Like, you ever seen dumpsters behind like Dunkin' Donuts or whatever like that? I don't know if you ever seen where Dunkin' Donuts, they throw so much donuts away. Donuts be perfectly fine, but they can't give them away. So they throw them into the dumpster, and you have homeless people that hang out around the back of Dunkin' Donuts waiting for them to throw the donuts in, and then they go in and go get the donuts. But then I used to give the example that, yeah, they'll go in to get the donuts, and then they'll complain that, some of these donuts fell on some other trash, so I don't want to eat that. It's like, well, wait a minute. You're in the dumpster. You can't. How picky can you be when you're in the dumpster? And I think that a lot of times with us as a people, you know, the places that we're looking for our women, the places that we're looking for our men, these ideas of what makes a good black man and make a good black woman, a lot of these things are manufactured by sources outside of us. So a lot of times we end up basically losing out before we even start. So if I'm told as a black man that the only black women that are available to me are black women who have PhDs in this, or they have this and this and that. Now, I might be a sanitation worker, whatever, make good money, but I'm a sanitation worker. Now, based on that narrative that has been laid out before me, I might cancel myself out of the race before I even start running. Like, nah, why? Man, she got a PhD in this. What's she gonna want with a sanitation? And I've already defeated myself. Meanwhile, I could have went in and scooped her up with no problem. But I've already defeated myself because I'm already being told that that kind of woman does not want somebody like me. And the women are being told the very same thing. They're being told that, yeah, you have this and this and that, or the man, he has this, and you better move quick. Why? Because he's just waiting to get a white woman. So if you don't snatch him up now, he's gonna be gone. But this is what we are given on social media and on the television. What are we told about black men? That black men they're just waiting for the opportunity to get a white woman, just waiting. And you have a lot of black women who believe that. They'll be like yeah, they just be looking at you side eye, like, I know you want that, I know you want that that snow bunny. Or we look at our women and say, yeah, you with your little PhD, you know you want that white man who works in the same office with you. Because what are we doing? We receive these insane platforms, and we're canceling ourselves out of the race before we even start running. So now, if the black man feels he's already canceled out, and the black woman feels like she's canceled out, I'm standing around feeling like, well, what's the sense of trying to get a black woman? Because there's a shortage. They don't, they're not around, and the only ones that are around, they don't want somebody like me who only makes $35,000 a year. So, you know what? I'll go over here and get Becky. Or the black woman will be like, yeah, there's a shortage of black men. They're either, the brother Nashawn referred to it as Rainbow Bright situation. I call them noodlebacks or whatever like that. They're either noodlebacks or they're in prison or whatever the case may be. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll go get Bob here from marketing and call it a day. But this is, but me personally, and I'm not saying this is necessarily a fact, but me personally, I believe that a lot of these narratives are false narratives that are designed to push, our women away from the men, and to push our men away from the women, and make us settle down, literally, settle down for that which under different circumstances we wouldn't even consider. And so because of that, I think this is where the pressure comes in at, because it's like, if you feel like you don't have any options, but yet you still want a family, and you still want children, you will literally settle down or settle for less than what you normally would even entertain, because you feel like it's a rush and that you have no other options.
Yeah, that's depressing. I do.
That's just my, and again, that's just my, I want to be very clear. That's my assessment of situations. I'm not stating that is a fact, because I don't think I have the numbers to back that up. But just for my assessment, that's what how I view it.
Yeah, that's it's good to think about that though, because like I said, I ain't never looked to see how many men there are, black men, the ratio. I mean, I haven't done an independent study, you know what I'm saying? So what do I know? But I know I feel like people do use that I've heard people use that in before as a reason, I think I'm sure it's motivating people to do a lot of different things, is information that we have. And I would agree with you too, that about, I feel like I've heard that, where women they don't want to be with certain men because of whatever. But me and Sean daddy was a blue collar worker. He had several jobs. He went to school. He was always working. You know what I'm saying? So I never got that idea. And even with my husband, like, he was I'm sure I said this before, but he was like, he was not my type at all on a lot of different levels. You know what I'm saying? And I remember thinking, like, but he nice, you know what I'm saying? So let me just So I remember when I first started dating him, I was like, oh, of course I'm gonna go out with him because I'm just curious, you know what I'm saying? He ain't my type at all. He's like a preppy school, you know what I'm saying, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, whatever. But without rambling, without rambling on that, I will say that perhaps if people was to look at their own lifestyle and look at people in their family, they would find brothers that or sisters that were a certain way, but then we always deviate from the path. Just like Sean, you were saying earlier, when you were like, you hope your daughter, you know what I'm saying, makes better choices with men, but I didn't make good choices with men, and I had a good father. So I think it's a lot of other stuff going on in our minds and in our world that we need to own as our crap. Like, you made a bad decision, maybe you was curious or whatever, but we can do all we can to show them, but they're gonna have to make their own plan. Go ahead, Sean.
That is so true, and I I had to come to the realization of that as well. Even my daughter, I'm just like, well, you just hope and pray that everything, that she don't make too many mistakes, and just do things and deal with knuckleheads and things like that. I just think about, like I said, just all you do is guide your child the right way and stuff. Like I said, they still have to be accountability for their own actions. And like I say, a lot of things that, my dad would teach us, our dad would teach us, and I didn't really understand those things as a kid, but like I understand them a lot now since I have my own children, So a lot of things is like you have to learn, live and learn, kind of deal with. As parents, we got to make sure we just show them the right way and hope they don't stay. Like I said, you had that positive male figure. You had, positive example with my grandmother and our auntie. You had those examples. Like I said, it's up to the individual to just try to, like I said, sometimes you just got to try to find yourself, and hopefully you don't make no mistakes that you can't never recover from. That's the thing, and everything is a learning experience, and then we are naturally curious, and once we come into ourselves and our own and try to realize who we are, when people are physically attracted to us and stuff like that, and then just kind of learn from trial and error, and I just think about the examples even growing up, like even with children, I knew I didn't want like multiple baby mamas, you know what I'm saying? I knew that was something that I did not want to have, no matter what, and just seeing examples that I was around, and I was like, that's not me, but and it's not knocking nobody who does that, you know what I'm saying? People take care of their kids, whatever. Things happen. Everybody's life is different. But I'm just saying, for me, I made sure I set those standards where I was like, well, I want to be with somebody. It's going to be that one person going to be my child's mom. It's not going to be all these baby mamas and all that. I don't need all that drama. But that was one of the things that, that kind of, going to be with somebody. They have to, like a woman set standards for how she want a guy to be. I'm the same way. Like, I set standards as well. You just can't settle for anything, and if I teach my boys, I say, when the Most High made a woman, he made it for be to help me, for the woman, for the man, I'm sorry, be to help me. So by all means, everybody had their role to play and stuff. And they don't mean that a guy have to be like this, oh, you gotta be submissive to me, and she gotta be your slave and stuff like that. We don't mean that, but it's just a way, and a lot of us Hebrews be like just take stuff to the extremes though.
Wait a minute, the women are not our slaves? What? No, it doesn't.
But I'm just saying, they take it to the extremes and stuff. Like I said, but being on the same page, everybody know their role to play in and stuff. And like I said, I try to stand for my boys. Like I said, just don't settle for anything, And I'm telling y'all this, like my youngest son, he's a senior this year in high school, and like even now he's like these little girls and stuff. Some of the stuff he be telling me, and it's just like, wow, like really, like they really like out there like that, And it's a shame because, like you said, it's like anything goes now, and it's like, why would you want to be somebody who putting himself out there like that, And then you got all these diseases and all this stuff going on. It's just like, So I am grateful that I'm not I didn't grow up in this era, because it's like playing Russian roulette. You know what I'm saying? Like you just don't know nowadays,
Yeah, that's them some good closing remarks. Okay. Where's the caption in it? But yeah, so we're gonna get ready to close out. Definitely appreciate the feedback you gave, Sean, about that. All we can do is, even us now, whether you have children or not, whatever we saying, we ain't the final words, just sharing of experiences. And though we hope that those who are seeking a husband or wife or whatever, that they, be mindful of, like, it's not something you just make a decision in a fly-by way. You got to be conscious of everything you do, and don't be ashamed to ask for additional counsel. So, did anybody else want to add anything before we get ready to close out? You know what I want to do? So I didn't realize that this had happened. So you know how they used to do like the Brady Bunch. So look, can you see us? Oh, such a nerd. Okay, all right. So you know what? I didn't realize that you can see this view on Facebook. I was like, oh, it's like the Brady Bunch. Okay. Anyway, so no closing remarks for anybody else. If not, we're gonna no. I'm gonna look down at you, Zebulon. Do you have any closing remarks?
You're looking down, because on my screen I'm like to your left. Well, that's that's what happens when you indulge in witchcraft. So I mean,
Yeah, put it on the Brady Bunch screen.
Yeah. I don't even know. If I even have a closing statement. I think we've kind of exhaustively addressed the subject. But I guess all I will say is that that under no circumstances should there ever be as far as settling down, I don't think there should ever be a point where we settle down for the purpose of, like you said, peer pressure and things. These are things that you have to come to terms with these things in yourself first. Prep yourself, get yourself in a position to where you're ready when the opportunity does arise for someone to come into your life. You're ready. You're good money. You've already done the footwork. Now you're ready to move in, as opposed to rushing into a situation and then trying to figure it out after you're married.
Indeed. Okay, I'm gonna put it back on the Brady Bunch bugle. I think that's funny. All right, so most high willing, we'll be back again next week, same time, with another topic. If you are, if you would like to join the conversation, you're always welcome to. Let us know in advance. We can send you the link, and we'd love to have your voice on here as well. If you have any topics for us to discuss or you want to discuss, send it to us. We're always looking for more and more pieces of conversation. And yeah. So anyway, grace, peace, everybody. We love you, and until next week.